We're going to start off with the Western Conference. Then we're going to go to the East. We're going to come back to the West. Then we're going to go back to the East and finally finish with our Boston Celtics, who I'm not super thrilled with. I don't know about you guys. I feel better than I did last night when I was texting you in a rage. I was damning every player, cursing every contract, shaking my fist to the gods, but that's all to come later. We're going to talk about the Thunder and the Nuggets first. Bobby and I were just sort of consoling each other that we're so mad at basketball that we weren't fully invested in that game, even though young Aaron Gordon hit a walk-off dagger 3. Before we get on to that, I'd like to review slightly with Real BK, Bob Kelly, and Mike Marcangelo. I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about the Los Angeles Clippers and their just absolute no-show game in Game 7 against your Denver Nuggets, if you're from Denver. How's the weather up there? What the hell happened? I was really enjoying super high-level basketball from both of those teams. It was my favorite series of the first round. Every game was super close. Every game was decided by inches, centimeters even. James Harden put in a good post-Game 4 playoff performance, which everyone says never happens. What's going on? What happened? I know James Harden no-showed. I'm aware that happened. I know Kawhi Leonard is too old to jump on every single all-star performance in a playoff game. But Jesus, I mean, that was such a close series. And then the Nuggets just walked away with it. I was just hoping for some good basketball, Mike. What happened? Is its name James Harden or did something else happen?
It's James Harden. Like, you just know it to the core of your being. To go 2 for 8 in a Game 7 and finish with 7 points after, like, to your credit and to your point just now, he had done a pretty good job quieting all of his naysayers in the series. Like, he was playing efficient basketball. He looked the part. Kawhi was, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. If Kawhi played like he did in 2019, they're going to be dangerous. He tapered off.
He did for moments, for spells.
Yeah,
for spells.
He did. But I think it's a combination of James Harden no-showed, like their second best player no-showed on there when they needed him most. And it was just so inconsistent in that game. And listen, Joker didn't have a great game in Game 7, like by any stretch of the imagination. But if you just looked at the stat sheet, you'd be like, oh, that wasn't great. But he just commanded so much attention on the floor that everyone else had such a better game. And you won't know me. I love to be the guy that says, I told you so, in case you didn't know that. I told you so about James Harden. And you've all told me as well. But like, we all told you so. James Harden is not the guy. He just isn't.
It's really disappointing how we released this podcast schedule because after Game 5, Bobby and Ray were like, James Harden fucking sucks. He never shows up in the playoffs. And I was like, I don't know. Like, he could come back and have a really good Game 6. Like, he's older. Like, maybe we can hide him in there. Like, he can find some playmaking. And then he came in Game 6 and did exactly what I said. He proved me completely right, but we didn't get on the show in time for him to come back and prove me completely wrong. We're 1 game later. So, yeah, look, you live by the beard, you die by the beard. I accept that. I guess I might be just becoming an old man. It's a bit of a kids these days problem for me. I think I just remember the glory days of James Harden. And I was watching Russell Westbrook on the other team, and I know for a fact that one of those guys is better than the other and always has been. And it makes me upset that Westbrook turns out to be like the greatest role player the playoffs has ever seen, like the best bench player you could have. I really thought I was going to be sitting here saying, live by the Russ, die by the Russ. Well, Mike, you were right about that too. Yeah, you've historically always said Russell Westbrook is the greatest basketball player you've ever seen with your own 2 eyes, right? Just kidding. Just kidding. The running joke being that he wanted him on the Celtics and I didn't. But, you were right in the sense that he can play a role, and James Harden, the way that he plays his basketball, he can't play a role. You have to kind of rely on him to be a scorer. Bob, you can rub it in now.
Right. No, it's been the same story with Harden. And it's that he will show up just enough to give everyone a little bit of hope that once he doesn't show up, it's like, okay, yep, this is exactly what we expected. He did it against the Celtics. When he was on the Nets, he had 2 games where he was just unbelievable. He couldn't be stopped. And then that game 7, he just absolutely no-showed, and we blew him out by like 20 or whatever it was.
He did it with Philly too.
And with Philly, exactly. So it's just been the story with Harden from the beginning. And they relied so much on that pick and roll without Kawhi showing up. If Harden's not playing up to his top notch, they didn't stand a chance against Jokic in that game 7. You know what I mean? They just didn't stand a chance. And even with how shallow that bench is in Denver, I mean, they have literally Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, and that's it. So if you can stop Jokic, you have it. Stop being a relative term. You know, you have a shot against them. But Harden no showing. There's too much to make up for them in game 7 for sure.
I guess it's just still weird to me because when did we all call the Lakers? Or I'm sorry, not the Lakers, the Clippers in 7. Did we all say Clippers in 7? Or did anyone call the Nuggets before that when in that playoff preview show?
I definitely did Clippers.
I think I hedged, but I did call Clippers in 7.
Because I know Bobby changed his answer after game 5, which was fair enough because he turned out to be right. But I wanted to stick with the Clippers the whole time because in my head I was like Zubac, like he's like one of the few guys that can kind of give Joker trouble. Like that's a good matchup. I feel like Chris Dunn, could he get some good wing defense in there? But all their role players just like I knew they were going to struggle more so than they did in game 6, obviously going back to Denver. But man, those role players just fucking disappeared too. Like to a certain extent, you should be able to survive a James Harden no-show in air quotes when he's not your number one guy. Like when what happened on the Rockets, you could understand that the entire Rockets future was like mortgaged on that. But I really thought they had enough around him. And this is the point I was making post game 5, which, it didn't even turn out to really be true either way because Harden just had a really good game 6. But at the end of the day, I thought they had more. And considering the dysfunction that the Nuggets came into this postseason with, and we haven't seen Murray play at this level since, I don't know, what 2020? I just didn't expect this. Yeah, I just didn't expect this. I really didn't. I mean, it's not as if Jamal Murray hasn't had a good playoff run since the bubble. Like he won a championship. But it's at this level. They're like, dropping 40-plus point games on you, Jamal Murray. I wasn't sure we were ever really going to see again. That 2-man game with the Nuggets is still lethal. Jokic can make everybody around him look like they're having a next level playoff series. And like, I think after that game and then the walk-off game, which we'll transition to now, Aaron Gordon hitting a huge 3, it seems like they've dispelled the bad juju of firing their coach like 5 games from the end of the regular season.
I know.
It seems like it's kind of galvanized them to a certain degree. And now I'm re-scared of the Nuggets. I wasn't as scared of them as I was, you'll remember last season when I was like, I'm fucking terrified of the Nuggets. I fucking hope we don't see them in the finals. Holy shit. And then when we got the Mavericks, I think all of us breathed a collective sigh of relief, right? And I think that there's teams in the West that I felt that way about coming into the playoffs. There's definitely preferences, right? Like to who we see in the finals, if we even fucking get there, Celtic. But the Nuggets in my head, I was like, well, they just fired their coach, like, like all this stuff. I was like, nah, right? And was that fair to feel?
Yeah, of course it was because 5 games from the
definitely fair.
5 games from the playoffs, if you see a head coach get fired that just recently won a championship within the last couple of years, you're like, okay, that locker room is in fucking shambles.
He's the all-time winningest coach. The all-time winningest coach in franchise history.
Turns out
something happened.
They were right.
Something must have been going really bad because... Do you think this might be a new coach bump, though? I mean, I don't want to overreact to that game 1 win. Like, they kind of got beat up for the entire game. It wasn't it like...
We talked about this a couple of years ago with Missoula. Is your job as a new coach, if your team is this good in the playoffs, is just to not get in the fucking way. Like, don't be the reason that they lose. And it seems like the interim coach for Denver understands the assignment. It's like, we have
happened to us.
We have Jokic. Oh, he's going to put up 42, 22, and 6 in game 1 of the semifinals. Got it. I'll just stay the fuck out of the way. And
plus, he doesn't have a rotation to manage. Really, they literally play 6 guys, so there's no rotation to manage. Just a starting 5 and Russell Westbrook. That's what they have. So
it's such a weird roster too. That's the other thing. Like the roster,
they have nothing besides.
Well, when Jokic decides that he's just going to get 22 boards and 42 points, it's like, are you playing 2K, bro? Like that was a crazy performance. Like everywhere else but Jokic. was getting fucked up by OKC to the point where I was like, OKC is so talented everywhere, like across the whole floor. Like they were giving me at times in that game, they were giving me Celtics vibes for how we've talked about our roster and the way we have talent at every position, I guess, if you want to call it that, or like a talent at every level, the way we can be, the complimentary shows we've done about the Celtics. Spoiler alert, this is not going to be one of those. The really complimentary, I mean, we're bipolar about them. They're our team. What do you want us to do? But the complimentary shows you've had about the Celtics, like we talk about the fact that we have all of the following: length, speed, athleticism, scoring, defense. And OKC, for spells, I mean, you don't really get a true sense of what they are in the first round when they play the Grizzlies, right? We had this conversation about like what kind of level the Grizzlies were bringing to the table. And you were kind of waiting. I mean, you've seen them in the regular season, but like the regular season becomes a little bit more of a marathon than a sprint, right? The amount that teams change from the regular season to the playoffs now. I mean, look at Drew Holiday. He was clearly just like waiting. So you're like, the NBA has a regular season problem, and we'll talk about that. I love the product that they give us in the playoffs though. And part of that is seeing these young teams emerge and how much they've grown since the last time you really dug down and looked at them last year in the playoffs. And you were like, maybe a year too early last year. And you're like, now, I mean, again, I don't want to overreact after one game, but they looked a little naive down the stretch. I have to say, there was a little naivety down the stretch. And it was the fact that the whole, like, you can't win with a small guy. You can't win a championship with a small guy. That whole theory. How big is SGA on a scale of like, is he big enough? Is he big enough for his team to be built around him? Because what it looked like to me yesterday was that the size of the Nuggets just sort of slowly fell in on the Thunder. And the speed and athleticism with which the Thunder played just sort of started to get beat up and slowed down. And it was just a champion's chokehold that they put them in. Is that the same read you guys got? Because that kind of a loss to me makes me very worried about them in the longer term. But in saying that, there's also maybe the possibility of, okay, let's watch that tape and look at how we were naive. Let's learn the lesson fast, right? So just from a holistic point of view, if you're an OKC fan, Bob, like, are you scared?
I'm a little scared because you clearly, and I know this is like a universal problem to have, but you clearly have a Jokic problem to where you don't have a Zubac coming in and actually being able to lock him down. You have Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso, SGA. You're just throwing a litany of players at Jokic to do anything they can to stop him. And it's not going to work, in my opinion, because like you said, they don't have the size and they don't have the strength to stick up with it. So I completely agree with you. In my opinion, if OKC is going to win this series, SGA has to outplay Jokic. SGA has to step up and take a next level over Jokic, because what I think it comes down to in these series is I think sometimes we overthink it. I think it's the best player wins. So I think if Jokic is going to put up these numbers, SGA needs to step up.
Then we're all fucked. Then everybody is fucked. If that turns out to be true until the end of the finals, then everybody but the Denver Nuggets are fucked. I just want you to know that. Because the best player on earth right now is Nikola Jokic. It's not actually that close. And I know we all know that. But like,
oh yeah,
I hope you're wrong. I fucking hope you're wrong. Because like, the way I feel about Jason Tatum for recency bias being the last 24 hours, no way. And I said this last year, like, this is why we have this conversation. Like, Ray got like mad at me when me and him did a 2-man show. And he was like, come on, you got to start talking about Tatum in the MVP conversation. Like, we got to give him credit where credit's due. And I'm like, Jokic has been the MVP in my head for the last 5 years. So, like, I
agree.
So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I know that everybody gets voter fatigue and all this shit, but it's like, I mean, look at him. Look at him. Like, Bobby thinks that Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein are soft. So is that the case? I mean, they're 2 7-footers. You'd think on paper they could throw 2 7-footers at this motherfucker.
I just think it's relative. I mean, I think when you're going up against a juggernaut like Jokic, and for me, the game plan was all wrong. It's like when we play Denver, and we've come out on the short end with the short end of the stick, a couple times, but our plan has been the same. Everyone but Joker will beat you. It felt like OKC was like, let's just let him beat us, and we'll try and contain everybody else.
He will, though.
And it's like, oh, but he dominates the floor. Again, 42, 22, and 6.
Yeah.
You can't let him do that. Now, I guess if from OKC's perspective, you're like, listen, he had to get those points to beat us by 3. Sure. But he did, in fact, get those fucking points to facilitate a 3-point win. So something has to change. I mean, and Dave, if you're looking at this stat sheet or just watching the game, wouldn't you say, listen, just make him do less. Make Westbrook make more shots. Make Aaron Gordon make more shots, Jamal Murray. Sooner or later, they won't be able to do what Jokic can always seemingly do.
I mean, I think if you're saying that an OKC fan would buoy themselves with the idea that box score won't be the same again in game 2, I would say A1, maybe it fucking will. And B2, you're definitely right about one aspect of it. I think 6 assists is low for him. Like, I feel like he's averaging like almost 11. So it's like, well, box score is going to be different in game 2. Yeah, Jokic, 12 dimes. You know what I mean? Fucking 14 dimes. It's just like, that can also happen. It's a ton of fun to watch, but it also feels like how the White Walkers made you feel in season 2 of Game of Thrones, where you're just like, that is an impending fucking doom for my Boston Celtics, or even my favorite second team in the world, the Minnesota Timberwolves, are on the chopping block if they get past Golden State. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it's very much giving Boogeyman Returns. You know, Freddy Krueger's back and he's going to fuck with you in your dreams, because like, that dude is a beast. And, you know, the entire internet is full of superlatives about him. So what are you going to do? Right? Like, the basketball is there for all the eye to see. And I'm not sure why conceptually I was sleeping on the Nuggets in general. I mean, I know we talked about the coach, and I know we talked about the idea of the dysfunction and could Jamal Murray produce at this level, but Jesus, man. That Nikola Jokic is some basketball player. Hot take. Breaking news. Nikola Jokic.
It's unreal. I mean, they limped into the playoffs. And then after that 7-game series against Clippers, it's like, oh, they woke up and they realized we actually don't need a star-studded coach. Like, we have the guy, like you said, we have the guy that should have been the MVP for 5 or 6 years in a row. And like, it's his league.